Have you ever accepted an innocent invitation only to find yourself in a situation so surreal, so terrifying, that it defies all logic? Tonight, I'll tell you about a group of musicians who agreed to perform at what seemed to be a routine event in a remote village. But what they encountered that night would haunt them forever. What did they see? And how did they manage to escape? This is their chilling tale, one that will make you think twice about the invitations you accept. Welcome to Echoes in the Dark. It began with a phone call. A small group of musicians, specializing in folk and regional music, were approached by an unfamiliar client. He explained that he needed them to play at a celebration, a baptism, he said, in a remote village several hours away. The pay was generous, too generous to decline. Without hesitation, they loaded their instruments into their van and set out at dusk, their excitement outweighing any reservations about the remote location. As they neared the village, the air seemed to grow heavier, the roads narrower, and the dense forest on either side felt more like walls closing in. They were greeted at the edge of the village by a man in a dark suit, presumably their host's driver. He didn't speak but gestured for them to follow him in his sleek black car. His face was expressionless, his eyes cold, and the musicians exchanged uneasy glances. Still, they pushed their doubts aside, chalking it up to nerves and exhaustion. The vehicle led them through winding dirt roads until they reached a towering mansion, illuminated by dozens of lanterns. The estate was grand, almost regal, but there was something peculiar about its dilapidated edges and the eerie silence of the surrounding area. As they unloaded their instruments, guests began to emerge from the house. At first glance, they seemed like ordinary partygoers, well-dressed, cheerful, and lively. The musicians were ushered inside and directed to set up in an opulent dining hall. The chandeliers sparkled. The tables were adorned with extravagant spreads of food and drink, and laughter filled the air. The celebration seemed normal enough, even pleasant, though the musicians couldn't help but notice an occasional flicker of something off. For hours they performed, their music blending seamlessly with the rhythm of the festivities. Yet, as the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere shifted. The once jovial crowd grew eerily quiet. One of the musicians, a young violinist, swore she saw one of the guests' faces momentarily contort, his features melting into something unrecognizable, almost animalistic. By 3 a.m., the illusion shattered. The guests' true forms began to surface. Some appeared to have elongated limbs, others sported grotesque, animal-like features. The musicians froze, their instruments falling silent. The host, who had been absent for most of the night, suddenly appeared. His face was obscured by shadows, but his voice cut through the room like a knife. "The music mustn't stop," he growled. His tone was both commanding and inhuman. Panicked, the band tried to play again, but their trembling hands made it impossible. One by one, the musicians realized they had to escape. But every door they approached seemed to lead them back into the same hall. The guests, or whatever they had become, closed in, their distorted faces filled with malice. The violinist whispered a desperate prayer, and the others followed suit, closing their eyes and reciting it in unison. As they prayed, the cacophony of growls and shrieks grew louder, vibrating through their very bones. And then, suddenly, silence. When they opened their eyes, the mansion was gone. They were standing in the middle of an abandoned, crumbling house, the air thick with dust and decay. The ornate chandeliers, the lavish feast, the monstrous guests, everything had vanished. Their instruments lay scattered on the floor, some broken, others covered in what appeared to be claw marks. The once grand dining hall was now nothing more than a derelict room, its walls covered in peeling paint and strange, cryptic symbols. Without saying a word, the musicians grabbed what they could and fled, not stopping until they were miles away. When they tried to recount their story to locals, they were met with nervous glances and hushed voices. Some mentioned rumors of a cursed house, abandoned decades ago, where strange occurrences had been reported. Others claimed the area was known for demonic gatherings, though no one dared to speak of it openly. To this day, the musicians struggle to piece together what happened that night. Was it a shared hallucination? A trick played by malevolent entities? Or were they unwilling participants in some unholy ritual? The house they had entered was real, that much they confirmed, but the celebration, the guests, the monstrous transformations, none of it could be explained. The story raises chilling questions about the thin veil between our world and the unknown. How much of what we see is real? And how can we truly know when we've crossed into a realm we don't understand? Some skeptics might dismiss this tale as an elaborate fabrication, but the musicians' terror was palpable, their accounts consistent. Whatever they experienced, it left a mark on them, a lingering fear of the unexplained and a reluctance to ever play in remote, unfamiliar places again. The mystery of the cursed mansion remains unsolved, a haunting reminder that sometimes even the most ordinary invitations can lead us into the depths of the unknown. What do you think happened to the musicians that night? Could this be a glimpse into a hidden world beyond our comprehension? Or is there a more rational explanation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. And if you've ever experienced something similar or know of other eerie tales, feel free to share your story with us. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more chilling mysteries like this one. If you enjoyed it, share it with someone who loves the paranormal. You never know who might have their own tale to tell.